Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners, to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. It is a Monday edition of the show, and I just want to say happy Victory Monday to all of you Bucs fans and Pewter people. It's been quite a while since we've had a Victory Monday, but it is back and better than ever, as we're going to further recap the Bucs beating the New York Football Giants by a score of 30-7. A couple of things bounced the Bucs' way as well, with the Commanders losing. The Falcons were on a bye, so that doesn't change anything. And also the Sunday night game with the Eagles beating the Rams was another good thing for the Buccaneers. So a lot to talk about on today's show, as we also kind of take a look at their next matchup with the Bucs coming up against the Panthers, and a familiar face in Dave Canales. So I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow co-host and the face that runs the place at pewterreport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. Scott, a very happy Victory Monday to you, sir.
And to you too, and to all the Pewter people who are joining us. It is it's been a long time since we've had a Victory Monday. It feels good to celebrate this team getting a hard-earned victory up there in New York, and certainly one that was needed. They had to snap this 4-game losing streak. They did so. They have a chance now to, they're going to run the table or not. I still think that there's a trap game somewhere. Hopefully it's not next Sunday in Carolina, but they put themselves in position now to keep it interesting. And if they can get some help, this team can perhaps get to 10 wins. And that might be enough to either win the division or secure a wild card spot. I think maybe the worst case scenario for this team is they do get the 10 wins, Matt, but then the right pieces don't fall in place. Let's say the Falcons finish with 10 wins also, and they would have the tiebreaker advantage over Tampa Bay. And then the Buccaneers may lose a head-to-head tiebreaker against another team and not make the playoffs. But you have to think that 10 wins probably puts them in the best position to get a win. I just think it would be a Herculean task to win out and finish with 11 wins. Remember, the last time the Buccaneers have won anywhere close to 7 games straight was back in 2020, when they won 8 games, including the Super Bowl after the bye week in that magical run with Tom Brady.
That's right. Very fun memory, and actually something that Jamel Dean had brought up earlier in the week of why he wanted to get back, to help right the ship and maybe get on that same type of winning streak that they did back in 2020, and hopefully have the same result of not only winning a Super Bowl, but winning a Super Bowl in an NFC South stadium, because the Super Bowl this year is in New Orleans, where the last one, of course, was in Raymond James Stadium, where the Bucs made history as the first team ever to win a Super Bowl in their home stadium. But I think it is important to remember, yes, it was an important win. It helps the Bucs get back on track, but that does not mean anything else is signed, sealed, and delivered for this team. We have to remember, the Giants are a tomato can. They may be the worst team in the NFL right now.
That's right.
They were averaging 14 points per game before that. So, if anything, let's let the Bucs defense believe that they figured it out, and that's how they're going to play week in and week out. Because I don't think that's going to be the case. But sometimes you just need to see the ball go through the hoop, or see the ball reach the end zone, or see the quarterback on the ground getting a sack, and that's exactly what Tampa Bay did. That was the goal, and they accomplished it. They didn't just beat the Giants; they dismantled the Giants. They dominated the G-men from beginning to end. So.
Yeah, and really, they ran roughshod over the Giants, too. And you would think that anytime Tampa Bay runs for 150 yards or more in a game, that would automatically equal a win. Unfortunately, that's not the case. They ran for 160 yards against the Falcons in Atlanta and still lost that game. The game they should have won. I mean, there was a blatant face mask that was missed by the refs, and Tampa Bay just didn't make enough plays offensively to finish that game out, or on defense, allowing the Falcons to come back and tie the game and late in the fourth quarter, and then unfortunately give up a touchdown in overtime that sealed their fate. And that's going to hurt come week 18 when everything is all sorted out with the final records. And it means the Buccaneers have to finish a game ahead of the Falcons at the end of the day, whether it's 11 wins, 10 wins, whatever it is. I don't think 9 wins is going to win the division this year. But since we're talking about the running game, let's take a look at this impressive Liam Cohen, Bucky Irving powered rushing attack and what it's been able to do this year in these games. The wins are in red, the losses are in pewter, but you can see here 120 or 112 yards in the season opening win against the Commanders that kind of got the ball rolling, even against that number one ranked Lions rushing defense. They still managed 70 yards on the ground in that game.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield was the leading rusher. But you just look at what they've been able to produce, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 100-yard games or more. And a couple that are close, right? 91 yards in the loss to the Broncos, 95 yards against a very stout Chiefs defensive front in Arrowhead. That's pretty remarkable. But what we haven't seen, Matt, is those games, under when Byron Leftwich was the offensive coordinator and play caller, and Harold Goodwin was the run game coordinator, supposedly, where we saw 24 yards rushing or 30 yards rushing, right? I mean, this is a football team that has proven it can run the ball, win or lose, and do so with incredible firepower in 3 of these games. 160 yards against the Falcons, 277 yards against the Saints, and 156 yards yesterday against the Giants.
Yeah, it's funny because just looking back at like week 2 where they did get a win against the Lions and then, they had that debacle against the Broncos. It was kind of like, oh no, like this is the Bucs run game again. They're regressing to what they once were. And no. They proved a lot of us wrong, myself included. I think one of the most impressive ones, even though they didn't end up winning the game, was 125 rushing yards against the Ravens in week 7 in that primetime game. Because you got to remember, at the time, the Ravens were the number one run-stopping defense in the league. And, that game went on to be a debacle for other reasons, most notably because both of their wide receivers got injured. But their ability to run the ball in that game, I think, really has set the tempo for the rest of the season of, hey, if you could do it against the Ravens, you can pretty much do it against any team here. And I love that it's been running back by committee. And that's what's been so much fun about seeing the success with the run game, is that they do it in so many different ways. Yes, Bucky Irving has kind of turned into the number one guy running the football. But one of my favorite things about this Bucs offense overall is when they go 21 personnel and they do the pony package, and you get Rachaad White and Bucky Irving on the field at the same time, and you don't necessarily know who's going to get the football. Rachaad White had a very cool hurdle that you see right there on the screen. He had a very nice run early on in the game as well that helped the Bucs set up their first touchdown of the game, which was punched in by Sean Tucker with the hockey assist to Vita Vea as well. And even though Sean Tucker didn't have the best game, I'm still very high on his potential and what he can be. So this running back room is a well-oiled machine. Everybody knows their role, knows their assignment. It doesn't seem like, at least from what we notice in the locker room, talking to players and things like that, seems like everyone's pretty cool with their role. Bucky Irving's happy to share the spotlight with everybody else, and same with Rachaad White, who's obviously been here for a little bit longer. And if the Bucs keep winning, that's that winning cures a lot of problems and a lot of issues. So hopefully they can continue it.
And I think you hit on something really important to note, because we're in the locker room talking to these players. And yes, there's one ball, and all 3 guys would love to be the featured back, but they all have their egos in check. There's no animosity there. Even Sean Tucker. I mean, if you want to feel bad for somebody, feel bad for Sean Tucker, right? He's the NFC Offensive Player of the Week in Week 6 with a massive performance against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. And then he pretty much has been relegated to 3rd string running back status again, not even getting a touch or even a snap on offense against the 49ers before the bye week. So credit Liam Cohen for figuring out a way to get all 3 of those guys involved, especially in that first drive. 3 carries by Rachaad White, 3 carries by Sean Tucker, including the touchdown, 3 catches on that first drive by Bucky Irving. So it's hard to get 3 different guys the ball, but he was able to do that. I would have liked to have seen Sean Tucker end the game rather than those 6 straight carries by Rachaad White. That, if I had to nitpick something, I would say either give the ball to Bucky Irving. He finished with 87 yards. I mean, get the guy his first 100-yard rushing game. I know he fumbled, and that was his last snap. I don't like when running backs don't get a chance to atone for that, right? We even saw after the Sean Tucker fumble at the goal line, we saw Sean come back and catch a 7-yard pass. And I thought that was important. You don't want to leave with that bad taste in your mouth. And replays showed that Bucky Irving actually, the ball hit the ground, and the ground can't cause a fumble. But maybe Liam Cohen didn't see that and said, I've already had 2 running backs fumble. We're going to ride Rachaad White. Maybe it was looking at Bucky had 12 carries. Rachaad only had 6. He wanted to get Rachaad, the same amount of carries since those guys are kind of splitting the starting role. I don't know what it was, but I didn't like the fact that on 3rd and 2, Rachaad White couldn't get 2 yards, and on 4th and 1, he couldn't get 1 yard. I would have rather seen Bucky Irving at the end of the game, or give Sean Tucker, right, who has more speed than either back combined, the opportunity to come back and finish that game out with 4 or 5 carries at the end, and maybe, not deal with that 1 yard average that he had to, because so many of those carries were either short yardage or goal line.
Completely understand everything that you're saying and agree with a lot of it. But I just can't help but feel like, isn't it great that that's the biggest issue from this game, is that we have to nitpick the usage of the running backs and the fact that the Bucs still scored 30 points. Like, I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, for sure. But I'm with you. I mean, that short yardage situation, and yes, it was bad blocking, and that didn't help Rachaad White. And that seems to have been the case from time to time when we compare Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. But man, there's just something about Bucky Irving.
Yeah.
He's always going forward. Like, even when a D lineman that's 300 pounds heavier than Bucky Irving is, Bucky seems to fall forward, get that extra yard, or he seems to always break that first tackle. It's this uncanny ability that can't really be taught, which I think is really special. You never want to have that last memory of the game being, I fumbled the ball, even though it wasn't a fumble. I would like to see Sean Tucker as well, get like a regular drive and not kind of just all this piled up stuff like at the goal line and things of that nature. But again, these are champagne problems for a team that scored 30 points, that only punted the ball twice, and really moved the ball at will against, a Giants defense that struggles and can allow a lot of yards, but also has a couple of playmakers in there. So I think that's one of the few things that the Bucs can take and say, all right, that's not just because we beat a bad opponent. We can build on this for the next game.
Yeah. Bucky Irving kind of reminds me a little bit of like Neo in the Matrix, where everything just seems to be kind of slowed down, like where the bullets are flying at him and he's able to kind of duck those. His ability to navigate in a phone booth, the room to run and maneuver and escape tackles. It's crazy. It reminds me of work done. It reminds me of Mike Allstott to a degree, 2 completely different backs, right? Allstott's a big, burly, 240-pound guy, but still had some of the most amazing 1 and 2 and 3 yard runs, just powering his way and wiggling his way, and fighting his way for yardage. Bucky Irving does it in a completely different way because he doesn't have that size and power. Right. He's got this wiry strength to him, in this like kind of short area flexibility and agility, just to make guys look kind of foolish and break some ankles. And his creativity on some of these, 30+ yard plays, because he had the 56-yard run and he also had a 32-yard catch, which was the longest of his career. So he totaled over 150 yards between running and receiving. But his vision is crazy in terms of being able to elude would-be tacklers. And that's why I'm just saying, it's like, I don't see Rachaad White having that. And I'm not knocking Rachaad. To me, if you want to just use him on 3rd downs, make him the 3rd down back as far as I'm concerned. Now, 3rd and short, probably not. But in the passing game, pass protection, catching the ball out of the backfield, we didn't see Bucky Irving outside of that big catch and run on his reception. He got tackled, for 1 yard, no gain, a couple of those times. I think Rachaad White is better as a receiver than Bucky Irving out there in the flats. But if I had one carry to give to any of these backs in crunch time, it's going to be Bucky Irving. And I think it's time we just say he's the starting running back and kind of end the charade of having to make sure both those guys have equal carries, because the stats at this point in time where we've had enough. This is not a small sample size. This is 11 games now for Bucky, 10 games for Rachaad, who missed the Saints game. 108 carries, 5.4 yard average for Bucky Irving. Rachaad White, 10 games, 92 carries, right? That's just 16 fewer carries, a 3.7 yard average for Rachaad.
And Rashad is still going to have an important role on this team. But even yesterday's game, they both had 12 rushing attempts, and the number of yards were vastly different. And I'm all for if the Bucs want to lean on Bucky Irving a little bit more, because that will lull some defenses to sleep too when Rachaad White's in the game, and they're like, oh, okay, well, this has to be a passing play because Rachaad White is in. Not so fast, my friends, because you can still run it with Rachaad White. But the thing with Bucky Irving is, there are only a couple of running backs that I watch right now in the league that anytime they have the ball, you just feel like something special may happen, or it may be a big run. I think it's, in no particular order, I think it's Christian McCaffrey, and he's coming back from an injury, but, old school Christian McCaffrey. Right. I think it's Saquon Barkley, and if you watch the Sunday night game last night, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry. Yeah. I'm not ready to put Bucky Irving in that category just yet. He's still got to earn it. Still has a long way to go. But I get a similar feeling, or maybe a smaller feeling, when Bucky Irving has the ball, that anything is possible and anything can happen when Bucky gets it. And it's, the big run they had with Baker as the lead blocker. It's him twice getting down to the 1 yard line on a swing pass or whatever the case may be. It just seems like Bucky's always 1 second away from a huge run. And he's had the huge runs as well, but it's just like from consistently doing it every single time. I think Bucky Irving is really going to be a special player for the Bucs when it's all said and done. This is only just the beginning, and there's a long way to go. He still needs a 100-yard game. He still needs to be the full-time running back. But yeah, I'm with you. If it's 4th and 1 and you're going to run the ball, put Bucky Irving in the game. If you need a first down on 3rd and long, keep Rachaad White in the game, or whatever the case may be. But all these running backs are very important for the Bucs. Sean Tucker, too.
Bucky's special. This is a special week because it's Thanksgiving on Thursday, right? And we're not going to have our Thursday show. You have to excuse us for watching football and eating turkey at that point in time. But we will remind you that we have a special week starting tomorrow. We will have a Tuesday podcast instead of doing our weekly Panthers, or I should say our weekly preview show, which will be the Panthers on Wednesday. We're doing it tomorrow. So, this is a must-win game alert again. Tampa Bay is not done yet. They're 5-6. They got to get above 500 and keep making ground up in the NFC wildcard race. So join us tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Myself and Matt will be talking Bucs at Panthers. Can Liam Cohen outduel Dave Canales in Carolina, and maybe show him, what real play calling looks like? Or on Wednesday, will Dave Canales getting revenge against Todd Bowles? This is going to be a fun matchup, and we're going to have Adam Slavon and Matt Matera get into on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Todd Bowles' defense versus Dave Canales' offense, who has the upper hand in this one. Carolina's offense is playing pretty well. They've won 2 games, and they went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, losing 30-27 after tying it at 27-27. So that's our show on Wednesday. Again, no podcast on Thursday. We will not be doing a Pewter Insider this week. So we apologize for that, but we'll certainly do one every week just about here on out. But we're going to be having a bit of a holiday for Pewter reporters and kind of having some family time here. But keep in mind, on Sunday, Pewter pregame show, 9 o'clock. Be there, be square. Pewter Report TV and pewterreport.com. Pewter Reports on X and Facebook at 9 o'clock a.m. So make sure you check that out. And then at 4:05, that's right, it's an afternoon game. We're going to have Bucs and Panthers Pewter Game Day show. So make sure you join Matt, and we'll see if he can get another guest. Josh Capo is going to be at the game in Carolina. So, but we'll have a Pewter Game Day show at 4:05. So make sure that you are there. So special week, special times, special shows. And as always on Monday, it's a special day. Even more special when it's a Victory Monday, Matt. But we do this thing at 4:20 every Monday, and we call it
Roll Call. Yep, we love doing this every Monday show around 4:20 because we have great fans all over the place, and we love interacting with our fans as much as we possibly can. So every Monday show, one of us goes on a little conversation about the Buccaneers, and in the meantime, while I'm talking about the Bucs today, if you want to put in the chat where you're watching the show from, we'll put it up on the screen and give some special shout outs after. So Scott, whenever you're ready, Pewter people, whenever you're ready, start putting the locations in the chat, and I will get it started. So we talked a lot about the running game right now, and I want to specify one guy that's very important in the running game right there, Grah Barton, the starting center. I want to talk about the two guys under center. Obviously, Grah Barton, the starting center himself, and the guy who's standing behind Grah Barton in that picture, Baker Mayfield. And we know what Baker has done specifically with, all the passing yards, a lot of passing touchdowns. Didn't have a passing touchdown yesterday, but that's because Baker ran it in one time. And also the Bucs had 3 other rushing touchdowns and 4 total. And every single one was by a different player. All the running backs we talked about and Baker Mayfield. And Baker, of course, went on to throw for 294 yards and would have easily had 300 if this game was even a little bit closer. But there was no need to throw the football. But anyway, we're seeing it more and more each week. Baker is a baller at this point. Like, he wants to win as much as the fans. He's entertaining just as much. And it's not important to be entertaining. You don't have to be like silly or funny or anything. But Baker has just found this fine line of like remembering what football is, like what made football fun, why we all loved it as kids and fans of it growing up. He finds this line of like having fun, enjoying himself, doing the Tommy Cutlets thing, but also taking it seriously because it is his job, and the job is to go and win football games. So I just am so impressed with the year and a half now that Baker's been able to come in and ingratiate himself with this team, to be hard-nosed, to like leave it all out on the field, to wear his heart on his sleeve, sprinting with Bucky Irving, running faster than Bucky Irving, and trying to get a lead block, to recovering the fumble from Sean Tucker, to scrambling out of his own end zone to get 12 yards and get the first down, to hyping up everybody around him as well. I mean, he doesn't even like to take the credit. He loves to spread it out across the way. So I'm just so fond of the leadership and the grittiness that Baker Mayfield brings in and day out. The skill set is there, but man, he's just so entertaining. And again, it's all about winning. It doesn't matter if you win in a fun or a boring way, but he makes it so much fun to watch. He's highly entertaining. He's a showman. He's an entertainer. He's Billy Joel, the entertainer, as the song goes. And then to get to Grah Barton, you drafted him in the first round. You have high hopes. You have high expectations of what he can do. Yeah, Shaggy with a great comment as well. The stiff arm from Bosa that Baker Mayfield had, another encapsulation of who he is. But Grah Barton, I think there's a case to be made that he had his best game of his rookie career. And it was a tough matchup going up against Dexter Lawrence. That guy is a menace getting after the quarterback, and Liam Cohen deserves a great deal of praise for, getting the ball out quickly in the passing game, coming up with different things to, kind of neutralize Dexter Lawrence, and obviously with Justin School at tackle, trying to, guard Brian Burns and Thibodeau and guys like that. But Grah Barton, week by week, you see him getting better and better. He looks more comfortable as well. He's a hard-nosed player. He's a very smart guy as well. I think he's taken everything in stride. Clearly, the injury's not bothering him as much anymore. Let's remember he did miss that game against the Saints. He's just putting it all together. And it's really fun to see a guy that, again, you have high expectations in your head when he gets drafted. You envision like how this will play out. And we are seeing it play out the way Bucs fans want it to be in front of everybody's eyes. So I just want to give a shout out to Grah Barton for what he did in the game, especially going up against Dexter Lawrence. And, Baker Mayfield just continuing to be a hard-nosed, badass type of football player that I think not just Bucs fans, but NFL fans are really getting a treat every time they get to watch the Bucs because of Baker Mayfield.
I agree. Well said. And as I shared yesterday on the post-game podcast, I had a chance to talk to Baker Mayfield after the 49ers game, a game which they lost. And I said, covered some really good quarterbacks here, but you're the most fun quarterback I've covered. Just his playing style is just so infectious. And he has embraced this area like no other free agent that I can remember, just to come in and just completely dive into the team, dive into the community, and just say, I'm home. This is it. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to get the contract extension. I'm going to take this team to the playoffs. And, I love when guys come here on prove it deals and earn that contract and then reward the team with great play. It doesn't always happen, right? Antoine Winfield Jr.,
Yeah.
something's not right this year. I don't know if it's a foot injury or what. He's not the same player as he was last year. Now, I got a lot of faith that he's going to figure it out and he's going to become that player. Maybe the end of that game when he had a sack, I thought he was flying around a little bit more against the Giants than we had seen in other games. So maybe he's feeling like his old self. But I love when guys like Baker just, they cash in on the deal and then they just, all right, like I'm going to prove to everybody that I'm worth this contract now. And they go out and ball. I mean, 27 touchdowns so far this year in terms of total touchdowns, second in the league to only Joe Burrow. I mean, he's getting it done, and it's fun to see.
Yeah.
It's also fun to see all of the support that we get from our Pewter Platinum members. I wanted to give them a shout out. Scott Federico, Rathel Gordon, Noah Parr, Scotty J, Dave Anderson, Eric McMillan, and Zach Jarvis. Greatly appreciate all of the support there. And we'll get to the Pewter Premier channel members tomorrow on the show because we'll have you come back tomorrow at 4 o'clock to watch our preview show. But we have some super chats to get to in the meantime, Matt. So let's get to some of those.
Yes, thank you all for your super chats. You've been waiting a little bit, but we'll get to it right now. Thanks to Redfish for the $4.99 super chat. How is Mike Evans? Got the sense Tampa rested him after it was 23-0. How's McMillan, who disappeared after early action? By the way, great mailbag, Scott.
Appreciate it. Yeah. With Mike Evans, I think it was good that he didn't necessarily get a huge workload in the game and he didn't have to carry the load either. This was a game that the running backs pretty much handled. He, chipped in with 5 catches for 68 yards, which was the most of any receiver in the game. But he didn't have to go out and wear the Superman cape. I don't know that he gets, 1,000 yards this year. The math does not work in his favor. He has 6 games left. And now that what was 95-yard average now is bumped up to 99.5 yards. So as I wrote in my 2-point conversion, which I'll drop in the chat here in just a minute, he has gone off against Carolina. He has 4 100-yard games against the Carolina Panthers. That's the most of any team he's ever played. He has 36 100-yard games in the regular season career, 4 in the postseason. 4 of those are happening against the Falcons, 4 have happened against the Panthers. The only thing is 3 out of those 4, including the last 3, have happened in Tampa. And he needs to kind of pick up the pace. So he needs to go off against the Panthers, but he needs to do it in Carolina. And chances are, if that happens, the Buccaneers have a pretty good chance of winning the game because I think Carolina's defense, even without Derek Brown in the middle, they're going to be formidable in terms of trying to stop the run. And if Mike can go off and have that 150-yard game or something like that, it does give you a little bit of faith that maybe he can actually pull this off and get to 1,000 by week 18.
And there's not many people that understand the damage that Mike Evans can do against an opponent than the Panthers head coach, Dave Canales, that coached him last season and, helped him get 1,000 yards last season. It was interesting. So Mike played 39 out of 65 snaps. That was 60% in the game. And again, the Bucs didn't have the luxury of they had a big lead. They could kind of use Mike in certain situations, not have him play every single time. That was still second most among wide receivers. It was actually Jalen McMillan who played the most at 41 snaps and 63%. McMillan had a 3rd down catch early in the game and then, didn't really do much after. I was not necessarily surprised, but I was curious about how it was going to work out with the receivers with McMillan back. Because remember, McMillan was that 3rd wide receiver that would play the same amount of time as Mike Evans. I didn't know based on, his hamstring injury, the fact that, Bucs personnel wasn't exactly happy with, him sitting out, if that maybe would have changed the usage that he had upon returning when you have Rakim Jarrett and Trey Palmer and everybody else. But they still went with McMillan a lot. So it seems like the top 3 receivers now, obviously Mike, Jalen McMillan, and then Sterling Shepard played the most after the wide receivers with Trey Palmer and Ryan Miller and Rakim Jarrett kind of sprinkled in here and there. So I'm curious if it's a tighter game, how much more they will use Mike. But hopefully they can just win every game with a 23-point lead and let Mike go sparingly. Yeah,
agreed. And when it comes to McMillan, real quick, I just say just be patient. He's feeling things out. Came out of the game healthy. I'll write about McMillan, but he's going to be okay. I think he's going to be all right.
Yeah, the Bucs have plenty of other options right now, whether it's
Yeah.
the running backs balling out, Mike returning. So they're still scoring 30 points.
Yeah.
Eric Moreno, thank you for the $2 super chat, says, you expect Wirfs and Tyke to play on Sunday?
I think so. It seems like Wirfs really was making some remarkable progress.
Yeah.
This is a big game. I'm just telling you. I know the Panthers are 3-8, but this Panthers team, I've been watching them the last couple of weeks. They're impressive with how gritty they're playing for Dave Canales. They're playing hard. This is a team that's playing hard. In the last 3 games, they've won 2, and they went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs down to the last minute of the game. Matt and I watched it before we jumped on the pod, and Mahomes is going to Mahomes. That's just how it is. He does it to everybody, right? But that was a game that was kind of right there for the taking, and it was at home. The Panthers crowd was fired up. They see this as a winnable game. They see Tampa Bay coming in at 5-6, and they're going to come, looking to win this game, and they're not rolling over. Bryce Young is playing well. He's thrown 3 touchdowns and only 1 interception in each of or I should say combined in these last 3 games. So it's going to be a dogfight. I would think that this team would want Tyke Smith and Tristan Wirfs to play if they can go. This is not going to be one of those games where it's like, if it's close, well, we just rest guys and and we'll see you the next week. No, if it's close, we need you to play because this is a big game in the division.
And that's why this whole season, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Because people were saying, should the Panthers cut Bryce Young, completely get rid of him, and now he's helped reshape his career a little bit. And then another important aspect with Tyke Smith now is it looks like Jordan Whitehead's going to be out for the rest of the season. Yeah. He had that pec injury tackling Tommy DeVito in the second half of that game. So now at least they have Mike Edwards ready to go. But Tyke Smith becomes that much more important because, again, you have to juggle around the pieces just a little bit with Mike Edwards and Christian Izien and, who's going to play strong safety next to Antoine Winfield Jr. at free safety. So Todd Bowles will kind of have to configure his lineup that way, especially with no Jordan Whitehead. There's still going to be further reports, but a further test, but everything's looking like that he's not going to be able to play. Joe Tryon-Shank as well, since we're talking about injuries, he has an ankle sprain and still need to do a little more updates on that before they kind of determine how long he could be out for.
Yeah. Good news is they have Jose Ramirez, who, if Joe Tryon-Shank can't go, Jose Ramirez will be coming up in the active roster because, he is on the active roster, but he'll be active on game day. He's typically an inactive guy because of special teams, but they'll need him because they only finished the game with 3 outside linebackers. We saw Kalijah Cansey playing some defensive end, if you will, to help out with some of those reps with Logan Hall going in the middle and replacing Kalijah Cansey. So, they'll have Jose Ramirez there. But you mentioned Mike Edwards and the key thing in having him back, and Christian Izien, who you were singing his praises last night, and you're exactly right, Matt. He's had a really good year. He has that position flexibility. He's got 4 games at safety starting for Antoine Winfield Jr. So now you can still go dime. As long as Tyke Smith is healthy, as long as he's on the field, then you can go dime because you don't have to have Christian Izien playing nickel, which he did yesterday. You can have him and Edwards and Winfield as your 3 safeties, and you can get KJ Britt the hell off the field there. And so that's important for Todd Bowles. Even though they're losing Whitehead, they still have the ability, as long as Winfield's healthy and Tyke Smith is healthy and their secondary doesn't lose anybody else, they still have enough guys to go dime.
And they were using that just a little bit more, getting KJ Britt off the field. Even Levante David played 51 out of 59 defensive snaps, 86% total. Again, the blowout at the end by Jones and J.J. Russell came in. But, typically you have 5 or 6 players that play 100% of the snaps for the Bucs on defense. This time it was only 3 with the 2 corners, Zion McCollum and Jamel Dean, and then, of course, Antoine Winfield Jr. as well. So, that was certainly interesting to see. Redfish, thank you for another super chat. This one, $1.99, says, fair to compare Irving with Warrick Dunn or a hint of Barry Sanders?
I don't like the Barry Sanders comparison because Barry was he was
It's in his own
start-stop.
world. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been no one like him, and I don't think there's going to be another one like him. He's a mutant. I remember watching him at Oklahoma State. I mean, back in the Big 8 days, he was just so impressive. How he didn't go number 1 overall just escapes me, because he was, in my opinion, he's the best pure runner that's ever played. I mean, just his ability to just make guys look silly on a regular basis. I mean, look at the Buccaneers. Ask John Lynch, right? He's done that plenty of the Buccaneers. I see more work done with Bucky Irving, just because of the toughness between the tackles, that short area quickness, the instant acceleration. The only difference is Warwick had that breakaway speed. Like, he would have scored on that 56-yard run, because he just had that extra bit of
right.
He was a sub 4.4 guy. Bucky's like a 4.55 guy, something like that. So that's the difference. I see more like Warwick Dunn, who, 1,000-yard running back year after year, whether it's in Tampa or in Atlanta. So that's a pretty good comparison.
Sounds like Bucky Irving on that big run, as exciting as it was. If he had a little bit of Celsius in him on that run, maybe he gets to the end zone. Of course, Celsius is the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. We love Celsius for all the amazing flavors that they have. I love the Arctic vibe. You can check out some of their new ones, like the sparkling watermelon lemonade as well. If you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, go to the Celsius store locator on their website. Punch in your address. It'll tell you the closest place where you can pick one up. Might be a Walmart, a Target, maybe a GNC or a Publix or a Stop and Shop. Or if you're lucky enough, you may be able to pick one up at your local bodega. And after you know that you love Celsius and you want more, you can purchase it in bulk over on Amazon with the Subscribe and Save. I'd recommend the Variety Pack, because there's so many fantastic flavors, and you can have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com.
Yep. We have some fantastic participation on Mondays, as we always do, because we love you guys on Victory Monday or even a non-Victory Monday, but it's always a roll call Monday. And that's what's cool about this. So let's get to some of our Pewter peeps here and find out where you all are joining the show from. We had a Buck Daddy who said, just came back from the Bucs win at MetLife Stadium, Fayetteville, Georgia. My wife is up there in Georgia right now. Great state. We love it. And of course, Cuse 44, Syracuse, New York, home of the 44s, the orange. And then Jeremy, also from Syracuse, New York. Free Sean Tucker. So we have a couple of Sean Tucker fans.
Very cool. Shout out to Syracuse. Carmelo Anthony's son committed to their school for basketball. So things are going well for Syracuse. Sean Tucker got a touchdown.
That's
so
right.
Good for the Cuse people.
No doubt. We got Hezo 813 over there in Lakeland, Florida, as always. And Waldo Williams driving through Alabama. So we got the South representing here. And of course, Cat Buck 88. Love when I catch you guys live. We love having you live for sure.
Yes.
And Dunedin, Florida. Or as my late stepdad used to say, Dunedin, which was funny. Always cracked me up as a kid, but Dunedin, I know how to say it. Bill Vincent, prepping Thanksgiving dinner while listening in Gulf Breeze, Florida. That's awesome. Thanksgiving
Very
is
cool.
Right around the corner. It should be good. I'll gain about 7 pounds this week, but that's well worth it. Bucs fans since Leroy 63, Simcoe, Ontario, Canada, home of some people. And then I love this one.
True.
Tartizard from Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Go Bucs. What a fantastic name of a city. Truth or Consequences. I love that. Wasp watching from Walk-Ons and Shaggy in Central Illinois. That's awesome. Speaking of Walk-Ons, I know you folks, you always get ticked off when I play the Drew Brees thing, but just know he's putting money in our pockets. And, he threw that last pass to Mike Edwards, who's now back with the Buccaneers. So it's all good. And it's all good, especially on Mondays and Tuesdays. And shoot, every day at Walk-Ons. It's the best happy hour in Tampa Bay.
Game day at Walk-Ons is just different. And it starts with the way our teammates prep each dish from our scratch menu. No shortcuts. We are hand cutting every single mozzarella log straight from the block. Hand peeling, stuffing, and bacon wrapping each voodoo shrimp. Hand carving ribeyes for our steaks and po' boys. And hand slicing, then tossing our boneless wings and our house-made sauces. With wall-to-wall TVs and food like this, why would you want to watch anywhere else? That's game day. The Walk-Ons way.
Interesting Monday night game tonight. If you're looking for a place to go watch it, we'll do it at Walk-Ons. Why? Because happy hours from 3 p.m. to close. That's right. So you're not going to miss a thing. You're not going to miss those $3 happy hour pours, the $3.99 domestic pints, the $4 house wine, the $5.49 big boy 22-ounce domestic drafts. And you can also get those inflation-busting food specials, $6 fried pickles and small waffle cheese fries, $7 boom boom shrimp or the queso dip, $8 boneless chicken wings, and the cheeseburger sliders. If you can't make it to Walk-Ons today, that's fine. Tuesday's the best day. That's the day I go. It's all day happy hour from start to close. And that includes $5 Tito's. You have a couple of happy hours on Wednesday and Thursday from 3 p.m. to 6 and 9 p.m. to close. And then some fantastic drink specials on the weekend. We'll talk about that later in the week. But make sure you're checking out Walk-Ons. If you haven't been to Walk-Ons, make this week the week, folks. We have 3 locations to serve you in the Tampa Bay area, Tampa Bay Midtown, down there by the stadium, and where Matt Matera lives. You might see him lurking around it. If you do see Matt, buy him a drink. He's a great guy. And then up here by me, Wesley Chapel, across from the Outlet Mall, and then in Lakeland. Check out walkons.com for more.
Yep, do it up. Let's keep these super chats rolling in. Thank you to Spider 2-Watt Banana with the $4.99 super chat. Says, sat in the end zone for the White, Bucky, and Mayfield touchdowns. It was awesome to see a lot of Bucs fans on the road. Loved Baker's. I don't even know what you call this. Some people are saying the hand pinch. I just think Italian.
Yeah.
But yeah, Baker doing that. Yeah, love to see it. Love to hear the Bucs fans and see the Bucs fans on the road, especially in a blowout game where the home team's fans leave early. Even that picture, you can see a couple people to the left, a couple people in pewter jerseys as well. And yeah, love it for everybody that was at the game there yesterday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Fun stuff. I love the Spider 2-Eye Banana.
Yes.
Name too.
Shout out
for John Gruden. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to another one here from, let's see, where's our next one?
I think Samuel Fisher.
Yeah, I think
Personal
you're right.
Message to you.
There we go. Okay. All right. What does it say? Let's read it. Hey,
Samuel
Scott,
Fisher
just wanted to say, go Clones. Oh, no, that would be the Iowa State Cyclones. K-State is going down. I need to see a 10-win season for the first time in my life. Bucs fan here from Iowa. Well, I understand where you're coming from, right? Iowa State has not been as successful in football as Kansas State has, certainly over the last 30 years or so. I just hope that we do what you guys did to us last year, which is ruin senior day, come to Manhattan in that blizzard of a game that my daughter had to sit through. She only made it through the first quarter, though, because it was like snowing to beat the band. And then I had to watch my former Pop Warner quarterback, Rocco Becht, from here in Wesley Chapel, Wiregrass Ranch, beat my Wildcats, and then hear about it from Anthony Becht, his dad, who's a dear friend. I love Rocco. I just don't like him when he plays Kansas State, especially when he throws 3 touchdowns. So hopefully we can return the favor and maybe make Rocco's day not so great and not have a great 10-win season for Iowa State, because we got robbed of that last year. Of course, the benefit, though, was it sent K-State to the Pop-Tarts Bowl here in Orlando. So I got to see my Wildcats in a bowl game for the first time in a long time. So that was fun. We'll see what happens. I've lost some faith in my Cats this year. That loss to Houston, followed by the Arizona State loss, was crushing. So I don't know. We'll see. Good game, Samuel. We'll see who wins on Saturday. And Farmageddon, one of the best rivalry nicknames of all time.
Yeah, agreed there. And shout out to the Pop-Tarts mascot. That became a big thing on the internet too. Cool. So
yeah. An nice interesting note too. I might have to miss some training camp next year because Kansas State, Iowa State will be playing in Dublin, Ireland to start the season next year.
Oh, let's go.
I know. Yeah. So I've never been. I love Guinness, so it would be interesting.
I actually have been to Dublin. I strongly recommend it. And our guy JP Peterson went there this year for the Florida State game. So hopefully Kansas State does better than Florida State did.
I don't have any Guinness, but I'm drinking a Mellow, so there is that.
There you go. Yeah. Thank you very much to Paul, aka OG Baker Bro, with a $5 super chat. New picture as well. So
yeah,
good for you. Says the day I first discovered Pewter Report, I pounded the table about Baker signing with the Bucs. I knew what he could do for a franchise and its fans. Here we are. Yeah, I mean, it's true. Baker has galvanized the Bucs fans. And you know what? That wasn't going to be easy to do, considering that you were replacing Tom Brady and Tom had won a Super Bowl. We all knew it was kind of he was a hired guy here with Tom Brady and was going to be off to greener pastures. Maybe not greener pastures, but other pastures. Once on with the Bucs. And man, what a run for Bucs quarterbacks! You go from Jameis Winston to Tom Baker Mayfield. Both big time polarizing names in one way or another. And yeah, I mean, Baker deserves a lot of credit for, certainly changing his attitude a little bit compared to when he was in Cleveland. But I think, some humbling with going to Carolina, and the Rams probably changed that a little bit. And he was the perfect guy to come in and, and be who he is with the Bucs. And I think it's helped a lot of people. I think it's helped Evans, Chris Godwin, this young group of guys on the O-line as well. And here we are now trying to get the Bucs, I should say, trying to get another division title, maybe.
Yeah. James says, I'm glad PR is finally praising Baker. Last year, no. I mean, we were critical of Baker in some of those games, but I thought, generally speaking, we were pretty fair.
Yeah, I don't think we were Baker biased one way or another. There were times we were negative, but I think if you ask Baker, if you're like clipping like a post-game podcast or something that we did, and we were negative of Baker for whatever performance, I'm sure he would probably agree with the criticism. Yeah. So I don't know. That's how I look at it.
Yep, exactly. Cuse with a good comment here. Hey, Scott, saw the Cuse K-State bowl game with Donovan McNabb back in '96. Played K-State in 2 bowl games. It's right. We're 1-1 against Syracuse in those bowl games. I do remember Michael Bishop going off in 1997 is actually when it was, I believe, in that bowl game. Darnell McDonald, who was drafted by the Buccaneers, a wide receiver, went off in that game too. But that was fun. Good college bowl game stuff, and the bowl games will be here before you know it. It just seems like all of a sudden, Matt, this college football season's been on fast forward. Like we're entering like the last week of the regular season here for some teams, and then you got the division championships and bowl games and the playoffs, and boom. I mean, it went by kind of fast, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It's a great time of the year. The only thing, and I'm all for like the new playoff format with more teams getting in and stuff like that. This year, I just think it's a little bit tough because, like, it's rivalry week, and that's a ton of fun. Like, Farmageddon will be great, especially, like, I think Iowa State has a chance to get into the playoff or at least get into their, game itself. But, like, Michigan kind of sucks this year, so Ohio State, Michigan isn't as big. Florida State is, like, a million times beyond sucks. They're terrible. So,
coming off a big win on Saturday, though.
So, like, their game isn't as big. Colorado losing last week kind of hurts their playoff chances. So there's not as many like all or nothing type of rivalry games this year, but that can change season in and season out. But nonetheless, very excited. It's rivalry week. It's one of the best weeks in football.
For sure. All right. So we have this question here, and here's what it says. SR, how about, this is from Thomas Fuller. SR, how about a Pewter Pulse talking about in less than 5 years, Light has already picked possibly the 2 best quarterbacks in franchise history out of the bargain bin clearance rack. Really impressive. Okay, we know Baker Mayfield is one of those. Maybe I've had too much of this mellow. I'm not sure. But are you talking about Tom Brady being a bargain bin quarterback? Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he's clearly not.
Well, yeah, but at the same, I guess at the same, $25 million a year is actually kind of a bargain for Brady. I mean, it really is.
Right. And you get Gronk, and you get, the good side of Antonio Brown. Yeah. And you got Leonard Fournette out of it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, I think there's something to be said for that. That like really the 2 best quarterbacks. And I don't know if I can put Baker in that category just yet over Brad Johnson, who has a Super Bowl ring. Yeah. But I think those guys are probably on par. I think Baker's more talented than Brad Johnson, right? And of course the Super Bowl is a collaborative effort. It's not just like the quarterback too. But the other thing is, Jason Light has drafted the 2 best wide receivers in franchise history as well. I mean, the 2 best. So I might do a Pewter Pulse on this, Thomas. I just wanted to like make sure I wasn't forgetting about another quarterback somewhere.
Yeah. But I think it's more of it's not a bargain, but the fact that like Tom Brady became available, I think is like the most shocking thing more than anything else. And don't sleep on the talent of Brad Johnson. I mean, I don't know if Baker Mayfield can hit some of those trick shots that Brad Johnson's hitting on his social media. So
that's true.
Yeah. That's what I want to see up close in person on the Bucs cruise that is taking place in a little bit, because that would be a sight to behold.
Yeah, well, and as Nathan Elliott says, Redfish, are you booked? Are you ready for the 2025 Buccaneer fan cruise? Folks, you literally have a couple of days to get signed up for the cruise, so we're going to just let you know about it one more time here.
We're on the Bucs cruise. Of course we're playing pool volleyball.
Hey, we on the Bucs cruise, of course. Anytime I say Tampa, they will say Bay. Tampa! Hey! Tampa! Hey! Tampa! Hey!
We're on the Bucs cruise. Of course, I've got my Super Bowl 37 hardware. What do you think?
We're on the Bucs cruise, and of course we had a pirate night. Arr!
Arr!
The latest Buccaneer players to join the Bucs cruise, Tristan Wirfs, is back after he missed last year. You know, you can't blame him. I mean, he was having a kid with Meredith at the time. But Rashad White also returning. Yaya Diaby, Kalijah Cansey will be a new-time cruiser. Jordan Whitehead, Trey Palmer, a lot of current players, Luke Gedeke, and some familiar faces. We talked about Brad Johnson. He will be on the Bucs cruise, first-time cruiser, as well as the A-Train Mike Allstott. Derek Brooks will be at the stop in Key West, so make sure you sign up. And you got to do it by this weekend. The deadline's fast approaching. The ship is just about full. So make sure you join us, the Pewter Reporters, as well as all your favorite Buccaneer players just about, on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers cruise, March 7th through 10th. Set sail from Fort Lauderdale, goes to Key West, and then Bimini, Bahamas. Go to TampaBayBucsCruise.com for more. You give them a call at 1-800-975-7112.
Yeah, can't wait.
Another comment here that I thought was rather interesting from Darius Miller. I know it's common for journalists and reporters to criticize players for their performance, and rightfully so, because it's their job. But do you guys ever criticize other reporters? Yeah, if you read the Pewter Report group chat, we criticize each other all the time.
Yeah.
In a very good-natured way. Usually it's me failing to get out of the admin. I'm saying, all right, can someone proof my story? And I'm still in it. And then I always have to punch myself as punishment. But yeah, we do. There are other reporters that will kind of criticize and poke fun at, not to their face. We're gentlemen about it. We're respectful, but yeah, I mean, we're critical of other people's work. I'm sure people do the same with us as well. It's just human nature.
Yeah, I think this is more coming under. So I think there's two different things. I think there are times, not specifically with Tampa media, but you see it at times a reporter will get way too personal with a player. There's a big thing going on right now with the Philadelphia 76ers star player Joel Embiid, and this reporter went way too personal, comparing Embiid's poor play to the death of Embiid's sibling, I think, and mentioned his son in it. There's no reason to do that. That's right. It was such an idiotic thing for the reporter to do, and that was complete BS. What I think this is kind of referring to a little bit is Baker got asked oh, are you Italian? And he had that funny response about I've never done a 23andMe. Yeah. Those ones, I don't know. I'm fine with it. I think the best moments in press conferences, yes, you want credible information, and you love when Liam Cohen breaks down a whole play for you. But let's face it, a lot of the clips that go viral and stuff like that are funny responses, or Tom Brady being bad football. I've just seen a lot of bad football around the league. So, if you want to pepper that in every now and then, I have no problem with it. I really don't think it's the end of the world. And also, news moves so quickly that in 2 days, no one's going to care about the question. So, I don't think it was necessary to be that overly critical about asking Baker Mayfield if he's Italian.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. And, the certain members of the media are going to ask certain questions. They're going to elicit those responses. That's not my cup of tea. I'm not typically trying to go viral, or, I've got more football related questions. I think Matt's kind of the same way. That's just kind of, how we do it. We kind of stick to the facts, stick to football, and there are times where I've gotten into, it with coaches before, and just asking hard questions. I'm not trying to put anybody in a bad light or go viral or anything like that, but I'm going to ask questions when I have them, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent or whatever, how they're perceived.
Yeah, we can't control what the person says.
That's right.
And that's what made for, all the Byron Leftwich moments. So there you go.
That's right. Byron. Oh boy. Mr. Wright 1. Hey, Scott, you think Cade Otton is back to just a below average tight end now that Mike is back? I'll tell you what, I'll do a mea culpa on this. I think Cade Otton, and you know what? I'm going to own up to this because Matt and I were out there watching practice a lot. And I even included Cade in one of the 3 players who had like a kind of really under the radar training camp. We'd sit there sweating, our tails off out there watching practice. And we're just like, damn, Matt, look at Cade Otton go down for that ball. Like he's just caught everything in sight. He was having a really good camp. And you kind of wonder, well, with Mike and Chris, is this going to be the Jalen McMillan, Cade Otton show to start the season with all the attention on the Bucs' big guns? And it ended up being the Bucs' big guns making those touchdowns early on. And it took Cade a while. It took Chris Godwin and Mike Evans to really get hurt for him to really kind of, show that he could be a real featured tight end. And I think now it's just a function of targets. But I got to give Cade credit. He's really become better than average. Yeah. And I'm going to give him credit for that. I thought he was an average tight end, and he's changed my mind when given the opportunities. The only thing holding Cade back from having more games like that is just opportunities. So I think he's arrived. I think he's going to get a contract extension, probably $10, $12 million a year. He's durable. The guy doesn't get hurt. He doesn't leave. He's getting better as a blocker. I'm sorry, Cade Otton is better than I thought he was, and I'm glad to say it.
Yeah, he's earned it for sure. Yesterday's game, he had the one big catch. He actually had 2 drops, which was very uncharacteristic of Cade Otton. I think his numbers will dip a little bit with Mike Evans back. But again, like if the Bucs are scoring 30 points, I don't think it necessarily matters as much. So, credit to Cade Otton. He's really, he picked up a ton of slack with Mike and Chris out. Now that Mike's back, his numbers might drop a little bit, but I think overall he'll be fine and the offense will be fine.
Yeah, we're all going to be fine because tomorrow is another podcast at 4 o'clock. That's right. We're switching it up this week because of Thanksgiving on Thursday. No shows on Thursday or Friday, but we have the must-win game alert Bucs at Panthers preview tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Liam Cohen and what he's been able to do with this offense. The Bucs have the 10th ranked rushing attack, which is impressive, and they're 4th in scoring right now. So we're going to dive into that tomorrow. Wednesday show, Todd Bowles versus Dave Canales. Who prevails in Carolina? That's going to be Matt Matera and Adam Slavon. On Wednesday, we'll be back from One Buck in Your Place with all the scoop from the facility. And then, of course, this reminder, this weekend on Sunday specifically, make sure you tune in at 9 o'clock for Pewter Pregame. It's the best Pewter Pregame show around, and we do it better than anybody else. So I'll just say that. And if you missed the live show, you can catch the podcast all the way up until 4:05, which is when the Pewter Game Day show kicks off. You can check out Pewter Pregame and Pewter Game Day right here on Pewter Report TV, as well as pewterreport.com and on social media on Facebook and X on our Pewter Report channel. So lots of great ways to catch all of the excitements that will take place Sunday when the Bucs play the Panthers.
That's right. There's still a lot more stuff to come. And in the meantime, make sure you're following us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up like Shaggy's talking about. Leave a comment as well on this video. We would appreciate that. And we thank you all for watching this afternoon's show. So, for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
That's a V.